Although the US is the top destination for international students to study abroad, we see that potential students are not choosing United States as the first choice and applying to universities in Canada, Germany, the United Kingdom, and we see Ukraine. Why is that?
Thanks very much. It's a pleasure to be here. The primary reason is cost. It's very expensive to study in the United States. Now, we are very pleased to have over 39,000 students from all over sub-Saharan Africa studying in the United States, and we're convinced that number can grow. But we rely on colleges and universities in the US to provide partial or full scholarships to help our students.
Now, Ms. Young, what about the different requirements for potential students? We hear that there have been some changes in policies. Could you tell us what might be some new things that have been added or subtracted from the policy?
Sure. The policies that international students are adjusting to are very similar to the ones for domestic students, the biggest one being that many schools are becoming test optional. So that SAT or ACT that many of us took as undergraduates is not required. And it was a trend that was developing before COVID, but during COVID, when it was impossible to take those tests, schools realized they could evaluate students without them. And they've been quite successful, and it's a trend we see continuing. At the graduate level, that less so. At the graduate level, most schools still want to see that GRE exam, although not all of them. So as it has always been, the best predictor of university success at any level is success as an undergraduate or as a secondary student. And I think we're seeing that now.
Okay, so tell us more on how you help international students come and study in the US. Like what organizations do you work with, and how do you help them or assist them, with cost? You mentioned cost earlier. So how do you help international students to come and study in the US?
Thanks, that's a great question. So the EducationUSA network helps students all around the world, and we're a State Department network of advising centers. And in sub-Saharan Africa, many of our centers are inside US embassies. And so we work hard to publicize our services, which are free of charge, and we promote ourselves as the official source. And we focus on offering comprehensive and current information for students. In sub-Saharan Africa specifically, we have 54 different centers, and we work hard to publicize our services. We have advisors in all of our centers who we work to train and get them ready to advise students. And in doing so, they may do that by visiting schools or universities. They used to make lots of presentations, and they're starting to return to that as COVID is lessening. So we're thrilled to see that happening. There are so many great success stories of students who have applied and gone to the United States to study and then come home or stayed on for a graduate degree before they come home.
Okay, related to the cost, are there enough resources available, and are they accessible?
So they're available, and there are a good group of schools that provide full scholarships, including airfare back and forth to the US and back home. We work hard to provide students with the information they need to do their research. We know that there are dozens and dozens of schools who do provide full scholarships, and we work a lot with colleges and universities to encourage them to diversify their student population, and that includes enrolling students from sub-Saharan Africa.
Now, as we're talking about a lot of students coming to the United States and other parts of the world for education, having lived in sub-Saharan Africa yourself, and what you've seen, what are the comparatives, and how do you find the trends going forward in terms of students from Africa seeking international education versus them staying in the locations where they are?
So that's a great question. One of the things that we're seeing a lot right now is that many students are not able to study in their home country simply because there isn't space. There just are not enough seats in universities in Ghana, Nigeria, Kenya. And so very qualified students are not able to go to university at home. We also are seeing a trend with more students studying at home if they're able to get one of those spots, and then coming to the United States for graduate school because they're looking for a much more specialized major that may not be offered in their home country. And so those are two really encouraging trends among African students. If all things were equal and the cost of attending a US school was not so high, the US would be flooded with students from sub-Saharan Africa because they know of the great quality, the great experiences that they'll have in the United States.